Hello, it's Mr. Williams. Today we're going to continue on working the questions from this performance assessment to prepare you for your unit test on division of whole numbers. Miss Bell's class wants to be in charge of the tables where children will make pet rocks. Her students decide to use red, yellow, and blue paint for the bodies of the pet rocks. The students have collected 167 rocks last week and 175 rocks this week for making the pet rocks. Part A asks us, the number of rocks painted each color is the same. Create a strip diagram and write an equation that can be used to represent the number of rocks that will be blue, represented by the letter B in the equation. So the first thing we need to do is figure out what information is important here. Well, we know that we have 160, sorry about that. We know that we have 167 rocks last week collected and 175 rocks collected this week. We also know that they're going to paint them red, yellow, and blue. So, the number of rocks painted each color is the same. How many different colors do we have? We have 3. So when it says, let's create an equation to represent the number of rocks that will be blue, represented by the letter in B, it's going to look something like this. We know that we collected 167 rocks last week, plus 175 rocks this week. Remember, it's not asking us to distinguish anything between the rocks we collected last week and the ones we collected this week. That's the unimportant information that we really don't need to know, because it's telling us just simply that the number of rocks painted is each color. It doesn't tell us anything about how many rocks from last week or from this week got painted a certain way. It just said the number of rocks, which we could take to mean the total number of rocks. So that means we're going to add them together. This is also our missing question, our hidden question that we need to find for solving a multi-step problem. What are we going to divide 167 plus 175 by? Pause the video, take a moment, and jot this down. If you said 3, you are correct, because 3 represents each color that we're going to paint the rocks. So red is 1, yellow is 2, blue is 3. So we're going to paint 167 plus 175 rocks, one of 3 colors. So we're going to divide them by 3, and that should give us B. We know that this could be B because we're going to paint each of the rocks, the colors, the same number for each color. So it honestly doesn't matter whether you're talking about blue or yellow or red, because we're going to paint them all the same amount each color. So we would just divide them in 3. If we wanted to make a strip diagram representing this, you would break it up into 3 pieces, with this one piece representing B. And we could just say the whole thing here could represent 167 plus 175. If this represents blue, we'll just say that this box here represents the number of rocks we're going to paint red, and we'll say this box represents the number of rocks that we're going to paint yellow. Part B says determine the number of rocks that will be either blue or yellow. Well, what do we have to figure out before we can figure out how many rocks will be either blue or yellow? Pause the video, turn to your elbow partner, and talk about it. if you said we have to figure out first how many rocks are going to be painted each color, I think that you're on the right track. There are other ways to do this, but I think the simplest way to do this is to figure out how many rocks we're going to divide into each color. To do that first, we have to do this little problem here, which is we have to figure out what 167 plus 175 is. This is their total number of rocks collected. So let's add those up. 167 plus 175. 7 plus 5 is 12. We're going to carry 1. 6 plus 7 is 13, plus 1 is 14 tens. We're going to put 4 tens down there and carry 100. And 1, 2, 3 hundreds, 342. Okay, well, if we have 342 rocks total, and we're going to split them into three different groups, a blue group, a red group, and a yellow group, we're going to divide by 3. I'm just going to use the standard algorithm here. 3 divided by 342. Well, 3 will go into 3. We're going to start all the way at the left-hand side of the dividend. 3 will go into 3, or 300, one time. And then we're going to multiply. 1 times 3 is 3. We're going to subtract 3, and we're left with nothing. We're going to bring down our 4. Now we got to go, how many times will 3 go into 4? Correct. 3 will go into 4 one time. We're going to multiply again. 1 times 3 is 3, subtract. We're left with 1. 10. Now we're going to bring 2 ones down, and we're left with 12. 12 is what we're left with. How many times can 3 go into 12? 4 times. 4 times 3 is 12. If you subtract them, you get 0. So how many of rocks will we paint each color? 114 blue, 114 red, and 114 yellow. You could check your 114 by doing what? If you said multiply it by 3, you are correct. If we multiply 114 by 3, we should come back to our dividend, 342, which is the total number of rocks that we collected. Because we know that multiplication is repeated addition, we could also multiply 114 3 times and get the same thing. Now the question asks us, determine the number of rocks that will be either blue or yellow. Well, this is pretty straightforward at this point. We know that we have 114 blue rocks, and we know that we have 114 yellow rocks. So how many will be either blue or yellow? 4 plus 4 is 8. Oops. 4 plus 4 is 8. 1 plus 1 is 2. And 1 plus 1 is 2. 228 rocks will be either blue or yellow. Thanks for watching.